Do you ever have those times where you look back on your old stuff and think to yourself, why on earth did I make this? Yeah, I mean, why did you make this? Jeff, I'm trying to commentate here. Oh, sorry, you're a Citrus sub, you can do whatever you want, so knock yourself out. Okay, so, what I'm getting here is, I'm doing something that I've never done before. I'm actually going to review something. Something that I've never seen before, but I have remembered seeing it a while back. Not because we can't turn back time now, but you'll see what I mean. So, I already wrote myself a script in this little book to remember what happens in the show, and what it is Lucario the Aura Guardian, the first story of this whole Lucario x Zoroark stuff, made by this YouTuber and was made around 2011. Does it still hold up to this very day? Let's find out. Oh, what's this series about? Well, it's about Lucario named, Lucario here. He's the main protagonist of this series. We first see him as Riolu, as his father didn't want to take care of him in the first place. And now, at this point, Riolu is the protagonist because he has no friends. Along the while, he meets a Trico that takes care of him 10 years later. And Trico is Lucario's first ever friend. Well, at this point, Lucario does grow up to be Lucario then, and decides to go out to see the world himself. Along the while, he meets one of the antagonists of the show, Ron the Infernate. And boy, let me tell you about Ron. He is gone wrong. See what I did there? No, I'm not here to make jokes. I'm here to make a serious review. So Ron here is the antagonist, and I'll tell you why. Because Lucario managed to go inside with the kingdom's cross tower, where he meets Zoroark. Now, Zoroark here is depicted here to be the female love interest. Now, quick summary before I continue. This was before Braixen, before she became the love interest, because Braixen was made around 2013. Why does that make sense? Because it sort of makes sense in my opinion, but who cares? So, in instance, love is at first sight, and Lucario and Zoroark manage to stay together. But not until Ron manages to break up of the couple's shuffle and wants them both to leave. Because Ron here likes Zoroark. Ron here likes Zoroark because he wants her to be his queen, to be married to the entire kingdom. But Lucario does his very best to get him out of line. At least that's what I remember. Let me check the script first. Along the while in this series, along the runtime of the 9 episodes, Ron does his fair share of getting Lucario and Zoroark separated. He has a little henchman Poochyena named Shadow in order to use Zoroark's own blood to make Ron much more stronger than he is now. There's Allie the Espeon, who intends to help Zoroark alongside these troubles, alongside with Ron having some Charizard guards. See what I did there? And at this point, you might think to yourself, why in the world am I making this? You'll see at this point, because I might tell you a secret message at the end of this. So, how does this story conclude? Well, it turns out that Marcus is Lucario's father, and still hates him very much. So he makes a deal with Ron to use a sudden spell to get Zoroark separated from Lucario. And that spell, being that this Lucario, Marcus, has learned... What was it again? Oh yeah, I think it was called Illusion. Because Shadow states that not all Lucarios learn that sort of move. And as that works, Marcus makes the assumption to use this sort of spell to hypnotize Zoroark's mind to not love Lucario and love Ron instead. Now this is where the point gets a little bit crazy during the episode 8, 7, and 6. And also 9, because 9's a tearjerker. You'll see what I mean. So to conclude the story in total, Zoroark gets under the control of the mind control thanks to Marcus. Now that both of them are separated, Lucario and Zoroark have to be separated for a while, so Zoroark can marry Ron. However, with Zoroark, she mentions to herself that with Lucario kissing her, it felt perfect, but with kissing Ron, it felt uneasy, it felt strange, and it didn't feel right at all. So all by standards, the illusion wears off, and Ron, Lucario, and Zoroark prepare for the final battle. It takes a lot of hits to discover, but with help with Lucario's newfound friends, Lucario beats Ron, but not before Ron beats up Zoroark instead, and she dies. It's pretty dark stuff to imagine. Here I am saying that, oh god, this is pretty dark, and I say that this series does get a little bit dark here and there. At this point, Lucario is desperate for this. However, Marcus seems to have an upper hand because he somewhat cares for his son all of a sudden. Why? It's because that he doesn't want to see him in harm, all because Ron beat him up. And that's the point, because Ron helps Lucario and Zoroark out of the dungeon just to spare them more time. And as the final battle ensues, we see that Lucario, who once had no friends, now has lots of friends. Thanks for meeting up with Trico, Shadow, and Ali Espeon. And with that, it concludes the first half of the season with Lucario and Zoroark being married and being the king and queen of the new kingdom. So, what are my overall thoughts? When I first watched this series, I had to write down some notes to understand what was happening. I seen a little bit of grammar issues, meaning that some of the dialogue is a little bit cheesy, but I have to say, for what it's worth, they really done a good job explaining the story. Make your own story sometimes, and it's okay if you don't want to look back on your old stuff. Just what's most important is that whatever you have in store for yourself, you can always imagine that it'll all be a cult classic. Now, with Ron's character, I think it's done pretty well. He has manipulated Lucario and Zoroark not to be together because both of them could be evil, which means that Zoroark could explain that Trico could not be, because Trico was trying to help Lucario trying to find perfect friends. At this point Zoroark here, she needs to make herself a little bit for an interesting character, because both of the characters are interesting alongside the side characters. I just gotta say, the plot is so good. Would I recommend this series? Of course I do. Just check out this name in the description and you'll be there. Okay, now that I reviewed that series, what's next for the agenda? And crap, I still got a lot more. Oh well. Hope to see you all again next time for the next review of this Lucario x Zoroark fanfiction. I mean, I wouldn't say it's fanfiction, I'd just say it's your own story. Oh well, time to go. What am I? See? I told you that was ridiculous. Nigel, knock it off. Okay.
20th Century Humor Citrus Hub. I'm going to bed now.
Can I go to bed too?
Sure, Olaf.
Yoo-hoo!